Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Moonbow Network podcast. This is episode 8, and we are revisiting the tier list discussion. It's been just over, or maybe just under 2 weeks ish, maybe, sort of something. And I thought, you know what, now's a good time to get everybody riled up once again to discuss a tier list that half the people are going to disagree with and half the people are going to agree with. So, before we actually get into the tier list discussions, I'll just let everybody introduce themselves while I sort out the final person's screen. So we'll start with Charlotte.
Wait, I realized I was muted. My apologies.
You're
Hello,
fine.
I am Charlotte from Team ORCA. I am also the admin of the Mecha Scrum community, where we've been hosting some events, and we'll soon be hosting the summer league here in a week's time.
Hell yeah. And then Thelian, who the hell are you?
I am Thelian. I'm a member of Team ORCA. I primarily play melee strikers, and I'm here to, hopefully make a pretty agreeable tier list. But even I'm not so confident on that one this time around.
And then finally, we have a new person. Explain who you are.
Hi, I am Renegade, otherwise known as Renegade Man, on the ladder into my friends. I don't know why I'm here. I'm kind of just a last minute fill. I'm not very good at the game.
I
That's a lie.
doubt that
He's so
very
modest.
much. A modest king we stand. Right. Okay, let me just do this thing where that goes behind there, and then we bring that up. Oh, nope. This is a bit of a mess. Whatever. We'll just start. Okay, so fucking Thelian, put it back. Right, we're going to start with Aleseness first, because it's the all-rounder, which last time we had a bit of contention about where Aleseness actually sits on a tier list. And I want to see where you will put Aleseness now. So, like last time, we'll start with Charlotte, and then we'll go to Thelian, and then Renegade, and then we'll start with Charlotte, and then go to Renegade, and then Thelian. It's just whatever order I feel
Yeah.
like.
Sounds good. I think last time, last time I rated Ali S tier,
Mhm.
I believe. I'm
That's
gonna make a
true.
drastic switch here. I think Ali's kind of technically receives some small buffs, but I think it's really fallen out of the meta with
Mhm.
kind of some of the developments that we've seen. And I'm putting him in like somewhere between B minus and C, and I'm almost
Ooh.
tending towards C. I even when it comes to other melees, I'd rather have Welcome. I'd honestly rather have Panther, or I'd rather have Stellaris. Like for me, he's the lowest on the melees right now.
Okay.
Which just puts him at a C tier. And we'll talk about the prevalent comps I think later, but he just also doesn't really fit into any of the comps right now.
Mhm.
So
What
yeah.
about Aleseness in particular do you think has made you shift him from S tier to almost bottom of the barrel?
Before his performance was good enough to get into S tier, like so his damage was good enough to get up there. The way with how he had his matchups with the other strikers that were popular at the time.
Mhm.
Um, but with some of the reworks of some strikers, the prevalence of some others, he's just not able to put out the damage he used to be able to. And comparatively to other strikers, is putting out lower numbers too. Doesn't match the utility and dive capability of something like a Stellaris.
Mm.
Even Panther feels a little more survivable these days with how it is.
Mhm.
So something Ali used to dominate on was going to a side point and just holding that forever, which it still can do. But there's plenty of other options to send over there these days that don't need to be Ali. So it kind of just got all of its roles taken by other strikers and done better by them.
Pretty valid in my opinion, but I'm not the one making the tier list. Let's go back to Thelian. Well, I say back to. Let's move on to Thelian.
Yeah, so I think before I had placed Ali in A tier. Like he was a great, solid sort of melee pick, especially to pair up with your Welkin, and you just you go and you box someone in and you kill them, and he still does that really, really well. However, I think his value has also definitely dropped a lot with the introduction of a new striker. Plus, just some buffs that have gotten to another certain striker in particular that he was really, really good at being able to beat that particular striker. But now it's a much harder challenge for him to do it, and it's a lot more more of a fair fight in that regards. So I am actually going to just place him down, I think, in B tier. I still think he's a solid pick, especially like Charlotte said, just for holding down like a side point on his own. But right now, like she said, it's just better options, better melee options with better dive capability than Ali at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. So we've got one that has gone so far from the top and it's like a massive fall from grace. And then we've got one where I think it was kind of a similar placement to last time. Not amazing, not terrible, just right there in that sweet spot. Now, Renegade, we didn't actually have you on last time, so now I'm super intrigued to see where you're putting our first contestant, Alistus.
So if you had asked me during the open beta test where I would place Alistus as an Aquila main, I would have put him in top of A tier as one of the most annoying people to fight in existence.
Okay.
And I hated every single Alistus main player with a passion. Unfortunately, now he's by far the weakest melee right now. He needs help. I can't put him in D tier based on the fact that he has survivability and he's kind of easy to play. So he's very good for like newcomers to come into the game and try and learn and basically build how they want to play the game around Alistus in the beginning. But at this point in time, he doesn't really excel at anything other than just being annoying and being alive. So he would probably have to be at the bottom of C tier for me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, some pretty drastic movements there. I think at least this has, generally been considered to be a little bit weaker this time round, especially now that we've got two new strikers in the mix. But I'm kind of happy with where I'm seeing him placed in your tier lists at the moment. So we're moving on from Alistus, and we're gonna just go through the melees now because I feel like it's a really good idea. But we won't go through the one we know that what you want to go through, Thelian. That will be saved for last again, just to torture you. So we're gonna go next to Panther. Where do we think Panther is sitting now, Charlotte?
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I was not expecting Panther to be that good. This meta, we saw some of the early indications of damage and the patch notes that we were able to piece together. Um, and nothing really showed that it was going to be that much better. And then started coming out, started playing matches, and Panther has been really consistent, really sticky, been great against the other melees for bullying them. Just a really solid pick in general. Is really able to do consistent good damage. I'm not a Panther player, so I can't tell you what exactly made it kind of happen that way, but it's definitely reached a level where it's very consistent, um, very very survivable. You don't have to worry about a Panther on your team too much, and is able to do really good damage all the time. I think one of the problems before was that it wasn't able to do consistent damage, and now it is. It feels like. So I'm somewhere between A and B. I'm gonna tend towards A because I actually put a decent amount of value on it internally in my head. So I'm gonna say A tier.
Nice. Okay, it's quite nice to see one of the once forgotten strikers after just even though it was a relatively big balance patch because it was from beta to launch, it's still one balance patch. And now Panther, the kind of pure melee with absolutely no ranged capability, is moving up in those tier lists, at least by one pro player's estimations. So we're
And I mean,
gonna.
I think I had Panther at C or D tier last
You
time.
had
So
Panther and Naru at D. So
yeah,
I mean,
so there's some big moves here. Ali went from S to C on my list, and Panther went from D to A. So
yeah.
big moves.
Pretty big moves for our boy. And this time we'll go straight to Renegade.
So once again, like Elisa's, if you would ask me during the open beta test, I would have been doom posting with the rest of the Panther mains and saying Panther was F tier. There was no point in playing him. You were throwing if you had him on your team. But I will abide by this statement for the rest of my life. When the game launched and I started seeing more and more Panther players on my teams, including some of my teammates, I started to think, like, see them get more and more kills in the kill feed. And I was like, wait a minute. All the Panthers are still doom posting and saying it's F tier. There's been no changes. But why are the Panthers in my games doing so well? And I started saying, hey, hold on, Panther might actually be a good pick. And then we found out that Panther can actually just 100% bully one of the most prominent and dominant strikers in the game. And now every single game that I see right now has a Panther in it. It's like every single one, 90% of the team comps have Panther in it. So I'm going to probably have to put Panther at very high or mid A tier.
Interesting. So you said it not necessarily counters, but can do pretty well against one of the most prominent strikers. Which striker would that be?
Oh, well, Logan, hands down.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. So this is actually a good idea for me to swap the direction round. So Thelian, how do you feel about that?
I am in complete agreement with everyone here on their placement of Panther.
Damn.
He's just right now, I think from what I've understood, at least about the change that they did to him, I think they made his plunge attack have a lot more like hit stun to it, which makes it very, very easy now for him to hit confirm into Lance charge with plunge attack. And that really, really now just allows him to kind of fly above a Welkin and just get behind his Ox 3 when he has it popped and just plunge and lance him off of the OBJ constantly. And what you're doing by that is just denying, the strongest striker in the game at the moment, the ability to actually play the game properly and do what he does best, which is capping points. Because his capping power is just incredible. And also another thing about Panther, I think I said before, is complex shields does make them very, very difficult to actually catch on your onesies by like, let's say, another melee. So right now, as just like an overall just Welkin killer, like Panther is just incredible at doing that.
But then in terms of a Panther's overall ability in a 6v6 comp, you'd say it's still just very solid now? Like a
very, very, very
not a
solid
wasteful pick. Yeah.
You cannot go wrong with picking a Panther.
Damn. Well, every Panther main out there is jumping for joy, I'm sure. To be honest, I did also see way more Panthers this time round at every rank. Hold on a minute.
They've definitely been everywhere. We can still chat while he's
Sorry.
figuring out his stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I did see that there were quite a lot of Panthers coming now from bronze all the way up to general and champion, because that striker is just really good now, and I'm very happy to see that there is somewhat a unanimous consensus on that, because Panther is my ideal. He's full melee, he's got the skills to prove it, and I love it. But now let's move on to Stellaris, the newest addition to the roster. Not a pure melee striker, because of course it has the right mouse button, which is called, I believe, the Assault Warblade, and then it's also got the grapple. And there's a lot of opinions about Stellaris right now, so we will start with Charlotte, and then we'll go to Thelian, and then Renegade.
Yeah, I'm fully undecided in this, so I'm gonna assign it to A tier, and then I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
It's and I'm justifying this in my head to myself too. It has a lot of great tools. Its grapple is especially powerful in that it's able to pull certain strikers out of their forms, like Tricera, Stego. It can pull them out of their turret forms, push them off points. It can pull a Falcon out of its form and get on a Falcon and kill it. It can hunt down Aquilas like crazy. I'm sure Renegade has some stuff to say about that.
I don't want to talk about it.
That said, and I think I'm gonna wait a little bit longer before we talk about the two prevalent comps right now. But it fits into both of those comps to a certain extent. One comp a lot more than the other. Definitely into one of the comps. Maybe you can work it into the other comp. The downside, and why I'm not quite giving it an S tier, is if you have a good Lumi in your team and the pressure from the enemy team isn't like off the charts on that Lumi, Lumi can just throw a drone on Stellaris, and then Stellaris can never stealth again, and those drones do enough damage to a low health character like Stellaris that Stellaris can get really punished by that. It's not super common, so I think Stellaris is at the very high end of A. But it is like a really hard counter that's really easy to do. So yeah, and then someone in my chat kind of brought this up, and this is true as well. The grapple is supposedly a bug. The
Yeah.
fact that grapple pulls things out of turret form and such. So it's supposed to be being patched out. I won't believe it until I see it get patched out, but that is a good point as well. Like that pulls it down because if it is a bug and unintended that it is doing that thing and it's gonna get patched out, that loses a lot of utility for it. So that's my
Would
thoughts. It's still very good though.
So those two things are something that I wanted to bring up in particular. So the first thing is, do you think they should be patching out that specific aspect of the grapple?
I think so. I don't think the way the character is as an assassin, for it to be a counter to ultra heavies essentially,
Mm.
um, is kind of crazy. And the fact that like yeah, even Panther Lance doesn't do that. Which Panther's lance is this giant fucking thing compared to Stars' blade, but it's supposed to be an assassin. It should be blowing up small characters. It should not have the ability to prevent ultra heavies from doing their thing. Ultra heavy should be a counter for Stellaris, not like weak to Stellaris. You know.
Yeah, I feel you. So do you think that the push from the grapple should be nerfed, or is the push okay as long as you keep the transformations the same?
Like the charge attack that it has. I
Yeah.
think the charge attack is fine. Yeah, the
Okay.
charge attack is fine. It's just it shouldn't pull it out of turret. The grapple shouldn't pull it out of turret form.
Yeah. Well,
But the charge
with
itself is a good attack.
Yeah, well, it's because it does it to obviously Falcons and Sky Raiders as well, and then you're able to
Yeah,
get like that extra hit because this Falcon or Sky Raider has to then maneuver out of melee range and then hit two and go back into aerial
yeah,
form, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see if that's the only thing they do, because obviously you have to patch out a bug if it's a bug and it breaks the game, or it's an unintended mechanic. But it does seem to me that Stellaris at the moment, um, the push is fine because it's supposed to be, like you say, an assassin character. It's quick in and out, so you can stop people from taking over your payload. You can stop people taking a key. I think that's fine. I'm not personally. I'm just not sure that the reward for taking somebody out of their transformation is that big, especially when you can just press it again and go back into your transform mode. But like I say, we will have to wait and see, or like you say, rather, we'll have to wait and see the extent to which it actually changes Stellaris, if at all. And then the second question is, how hard do you think Stellaris is to actually play at a proper top tier level?
so I'll say this: I think Thelian can speak on that better. So maybe throw it over to him and see what he thinks about this and
Sure.
his thoughts on it. Because I have thoughts, but I don't play Stellaris, and Thelian has actually been kind of maining him. So I think he has a much better opinion on that one.
Fair enough. So yeah, we'll throw it straight to Thelian. We'll get your placement first, and then we'll ask you those questions as well.
Yeah, so I think earlier, like maybe like night one, day two or whatever of the game, I probably would have put Stellaris in S tier. Definitely now that we like the playing field and the skill level with the queues is kind of like evened out a little bit. and you're finding people that, you know, kind of know what they're doing, know how to play the game, know how to communicate with their team, especially in like a scrim setting or like an actual, like, you know, everyone's in comms with each other environment. I think Stellaris is incredibly easy to deal with, especially with the Luminae, like Charlotte said. You know,
Mhm.
all the Luminae has to do is throw a single damage drone on Stellaris and then call it out, and I can guarantee you that Stellaris is going to die. And likewise with Falcon, the Falcon can just pop the radar, ping it out to the whole team, and now the Stellaris has two choices: either run or die, or engage the Falcon and then get turned on and die for it as well. But I think right now, like, he is an insane like melee character. He's got incredible like dive potential and ability just to like jump on a target that, you know, someone else is fighting who's like low HP or whatever, and then
Yeah.
kill him outright that way. Like, I have to say, like, he is definitely high A tier just for that alone. And also like the sword drones. Don't forget about those sword drones, because, you know, even
Yes.
if, you know, like
Sword
a low
funnels.
HP target gets away, he can just throw the sword drone out, and those will clip through walls if he has the lock on as they like go behind the wall and kill them with, you know, at like 1 or 2 HP. And also on top of that, not only do they, you know, punch through all form of like shields and whatnot, they disable the lock on for 3 seconds, which is ridiculous. So what you can basically do is just hover around the enemy Luminae and just spam sword drones on them, and suddenly the Luminae isn't able to heal for 9 seconds except themselves.
Yeah, that's
And
that's pretty
I've
strong.
just done that, and I've watched someone else just kill someone outright because, you know, the Luminae wasn't able to, you know, out heal that damage because they just could not heal completely. And then to boot, you know, the cloak, while, you know, a Luminae can deal with that, a Falcon can deal with it. It is an insanely good get out of jail free card, and I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful an ability like being able to break a lock is at will and just dip out.
Hmm.
And it also cancels stagger too. So even if you
That's
get
true.
dogged on by another melee, you just pop the cloak and you're gone.
Fair assessment, I think. So those same two questions to you, really. The grapple. Do you think it should get nerfed and be the same as it is and stop transform? Do you think it should be nerfed by the bug being patched out? And then do you think that the push is fine as well?
I like the push, but I also like would definitely not like the bug to get patched out, because I do play a lot of Stellaris and I like that ability just to be able to interact with the ultra heavies and just push them off the cart. Because I know there have been a lot of matches where uh like the winner was decided by basically the Stellaris just being able to push the ultra heavy off the cart constantly.
Hmm. Makes
I
sense to me.
I would maybe keep it for like it would really suck to lose it, because basically then Stellaris would have no way to interact with a Tricera like at all, which would be really unfortunate to lose. But a bug is a bug, and if it was unintentional, then it needs to go. As much as
Yeah.
I would not like it to.
So
And
the taking out of transformation modes, would you say that it's a fair assessment to take that out but still keep the
I
push?
I think, yeah, that's a fair assessment. You know,
Yeah,
get rid of the, you know, the detransformation kind of thing it
that's the word
has,
I'm
but,
looking
you know,
for.
keep
Yeah.
the push. I think the push is great just for being able to get someone away from the team for a little bit, just to give you a little bit of breathing room and space, just
Sweet.
for like a hot second to do a bit of damage and then get out when you need to.
Hmm. Well, yeah, from like cloak, grapple, push, cloak is pretty effective on stuff like payload. I think the most effective it is on payload, to be honest, because it's like the only it's the only consistent
Yeah,
objective in all of the
it's very,
modes.
very consistent. And that's another reason I would hate to lose it, is because I think Stellaris's value on like those payload push maps would just go down the drain.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And lastly, what do you think it's very difficult to play Solaris at a top level, or do you think it's just a matter of people just reading tooltips, as it were?
That's, you know, I do not claim to be the best Stellaris out there. I think I still have a long ways to go in
Hmm.
terms of like reaching like my skill ceiling with Stellaris. I want to say at a high level, Stellaris is difficult because you can make one mistake and you will die for it. And I've done that tons of times where I just make a single mistake and I get completely cooked for it because the other team knows how to capitalize on that mistake and just turn on you the second you reveal yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I would say I agree with you pretty much wholeheartedly on that. But, we're not here to agree with each other. We're here to shout at each other for our wrong opinions. So, Renegade, do you have any other thoughts, or are you somewhat in agreement?
No. As the only true victim in this relationship with this striker right now, I have vastly different opinions, and
Let's
this is going to
go.
be very polarizing.
Actions count.
So as an Aquila main, I love Aquila. It is the one striker that I truly vibe with, and I do not get bored playing it. Uh, I will be at the front of the line when I say that I do not like Stellaris. I do not wish to see it on the enemy team when I'm playing a game, and I basically dread seeing it every single time. Mostly because of its ability to basically just shut down Aquila from just playing the game. Like
Mhm.
if it was, oh, I don't have a good time fighting Stellaris, that'd be fine. But based on its abilities with the tethers and the FCS daggers that disable lock on, doing the math on them, a good Stellaris player, can effectively stop an Aquila player from doing anything in the game for a total of 32 seconds every 45 seconds. And there's just no counterplay to it. You just cannot stop it. And through that alone, I would normally place Stellaris at a very high A tier, like maybe right behind or right in front of Panther. But I have continued to climb the ladder and I have continued to play the game, uh, I have found Stellaris as one true weakness, and that is coordinated team play. If you have teammates that are in comms with you, he just dies.
Yes. Yeah.
He like the moment you find out where he is, you have a Falcon on your team. You say Stellaris here. He radars. Stellaris dies in 2 seconds. You sit next to your Lumi. Stellaris goes on you. Lumi drones and Stellaris dies in 2 seconds. He is a great pub stomping striker. If you want to solo queue and you want to climb, you can do so with Stellaris. If you want to play Stellaris in a 6v6 high level team play comp, excluding one comp that we are probably going to talk about later in this episode,
Mhm.
he is probably bordering D tier, in my opinion. I would probably put
Interesting.
him just past Aleseness on my tier list.
Okay, I love this. So, because it's so vastly different for everyone, can we just have a little, like a 5 minute, maybe not even a 5 minute, but a very quick back and forth to,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, here's my thing. I don't disagree with what Renegade is saying. I think 100% you have a very well coordinated team. They could shut Stellaris down very quickly, um, to the point where it becomes non-existent. I think on the flip side of that, we're still seeing people pretty early on into learning Stellaris and utilizing him fully. And I think why I'm keeping him at A tier is once we have some really, really, really good Stellaris players, I think even with the weaknesses there that we talked about, I think it still is going to be viable and still going to be able to get kills consistently enough to kind of play that role. Something we didn't talk about, obviously, yeah, is the utility of stealth capping too, right? Stealth capping points, even
yeah,
against a good team, a stealth cap can still come through very often. So even against good teams, that can be a thing. And you know, I wanna wait until we get to the healers to really talk the competitive comps. But something about the competitive comps that I think not everyone is realizing, and of course, every team should be trying to play meta comps and quote unquote follow the meta to a certain extent, right? But
yeah,
you're going to see a lot of teams that aren't able to, either because they don't have the players that play those strikers, or because they just don't like it, or they think something else is better, right? So we're going off of what we think is best. And I'm generally in agreement. I think well, the three of us are all in agreement as far as the meta, but um, if you run into any comp that isn't these two comps we're going to talk about, the Stellaris is still very viable into a vast majority of them.
Correct.
Especially because Falcon is not really being played on the vast majority of other teams. Um, you know, or really, it generally is going more towards Skyraider than Falcon. Not every case, but generally. So
And to compound off of that, the basically the reasoning behind this is that I'm seeing posts, whether it be in the Mecha BREAK general Discord, the Reddit, basically anywhere that's talking discussion about this game, is that people want Solaris nerfed into the ground. And I do not think that is because Solaris is overpowered. What I think it is because Solaris is just not fun to play against. It is the only striker in the game that can consistently stop its target, or as I like to call it, its victim, from just playing the game and not having a good time for a long period of time. And it's just not fun to play against. And I think honestly, right now, if CISA knee-jerk reacts to the people who are complaining about Solaris and nerf it, it's going to be dumpster trashed here, and then it's going to be thrown if you pick it.
Yeah.
definitely.
I think this is definitely a concern of mine as well. Just being in the main Mecha BREAK Discord, it's it's like any major Discord where there's a competitive element to a game. People are going to ask for nerfs and buffs for everything. I've seen people ask for buffs on bloody Welkin, for fuck's sake. Like, it's just going to be
Nobody would
such
do that.
a
Who would obviously ask for that?
Yeah,
Well,
I wonder who who was the
clearly,
one.
clearly not one of the
that
people
is
on this
enough.
panel tonight. No, definitely not. But yeah, like
Crazy.
genuinely people saying that Welkin is either too slow or he doesn't do enough damage, or once you use all of his orcs, he's useless. And it's just like, in isolation, you can make any striker look bad like that. But take the whole kit, and Welkin does not need any improvements. A single plus 1% on anything on Welkin is not needed. It's minuses all the way. But anyway, we'll get to Welkin. But yes, this is the kind of stuff that I love talking about, because there are three people who are close, all of them on the same team, wink wink nudge nudge, and you have vastly different opinions about the same striker, considering the strikers that you play as well. But enough rambling. Let's move on to the next one. Sorry to shut you down, Phil. Right, we will move on to let's go to the snipers now, because obviously we have an Aquila main here, and I think that makes more sense. But first, we're going to go to the one and only Narukami. Charlotte, are we having a repeat, or are we putting it higher?
So Naru was a D tier for me before. I think it's moved up. I think it's moved up in the world.
Are we being trolled? Is it going to go like
No,
B+?
I'm honest.
Okay.
I think it's actually somewhere between a B and a C tier for me. I'm gonna tend towards C tier here, and I'll explain why. Some of the things that changed is there's two things, right? There's some very hyper aggressive comps out there right now, and what that means is if you have a Narukami on your team and the rest of your team is playing hyper aggressive, that Narukami just goes unbothered the whole time. He can just sit there and snipe, and no one can do anything about him because they have way too much pressure on them elsewhere. That that in itself is really good. And as I say this, I'm gonna move it up to B.
Nice.
But it's just it has become very consistent. It doesn't really get punished a lot. Something that also happened is that with the new maps that they released, I think all of those maps are much better for Naru. Previously, Naru was pretty good on most of the maps, but like really only like really good on like Cape Blanc. I think before, and to a lesser extent, I am Misra, but now it has the new observatory. It has even the new push the payload map, because there's so much outdoor space on the back half of it. Well, the back 2/3 of it. Even the new TDM map is pretty good for Naru. Like Naru just in general has better maps now. Has a lot of pressure being pulled off of her and onto other characters, and then still has that utility of potentially coming in for a stealth cap or a side point cap. through stealth while the team is occupied elsewhere. So I think she's in a much better spot, you know.
Damn. Okay. I was honestly expecting a second D tier, but you know what? I'm as frustrating as it is to deal with the Naru. I'm happy that we haven't even got to a D tier just yet. We're gonna go to you last, Renegade,
We
because you're the sniper boy. So we're gonna go to Thelian next, and then Renegade, and then we'll do the same thing with Aquila.
I still don't really see too much value with Narukami at the moment. I'm putting it in C tier because there's something else that just takes the cake for D tier, and we'll get into that later.
Okay.
But I do have to like agree with what Charlotte said. Like right now, Naru just has much better maps, and if left alone, able to be left alone, doesn't have to move too much, get some good angles. It can just help finish off a target easily. But really, in my honest opinion, I would rather just instead of someone playing Narukami, I would rather just have them play Aquila,
Mhm.
and then have leave room for something else.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't
there's
have too much to say about
contention.
Naru right now because I don't have a lot of experience with like Naru in comps or like at all because I just don't play Naru and I only know one good person that is like insane on Narukami.
I think there's the general consensus that Aquila is just better regardless of
Yes.
what happens with Naru, but it, like I say, it's consistently nice to see that Naru isn't at the bottom of the barrel just yet. I'm also intrigued to see what your actual dog water D tier is, and if it's the one I
Oh,
think, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna drop you off the earth.
you will
Um,
try.
And Renegade, what are your thoughts and feelings about Naru?
Okay, so this is gonna surprise people. In the last OBT, if you had asked me what Narukami's tier list was, I would have been like, "Oh, it's obviously C tier. It's not that bad, guys." Winky face, and because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings, but Narukami was just in a very bad spot, and I constantly told people that it's because of the play style. It has to sit in a location. It has to charge up a shot. It has to hit that shot. There's just too many win conditions that you have to check mark in order for it to actually contribute to the game.
Too slow.
And if you just buffed Narukami's skirmishing ability, it would actually become a vastly better striker to pick. And lo and behold, with this launch patch, they buffed its movement speed and made it increasingly difficult to fight in a skirmish, in a 1v1 skirmish against it, even when you're right up in its face, especially when you're right up in its face.
Yeah.
And because of that, and because of the one player that Thelian was talking about, and especially in the comp that we're probably going to talk about later, it is probably the only striker currently right now that has an exponentially scaling power level the more hyper aggressive your team is. So with that, I would probably have to put Narukami just because I am a hyper aggressive player. I do not know how to play defensively to save my life. If
Yes, you do.
and this is even when I'm on a we'll talk about that later. Anywho, I would place Narukami at the bottom of A tier currently. The
Damn.
only issue with it is that if you have a Narukami on your team, you have to build your team comp around it. If you decide to go balance, if you decide to go majorly defensive, you are just basically disabling the Narukami's ability to contribute to the team. You have to play hyper aggressive. You have to play TDM. Otherwise, Narukami is just a like back to the top of C tier list.
And I just want to say one thing quickly
Yeah,
as
go for it.
well too. I think the other part with Naru is I think it has a very high skill ceiling, and if you are not really highly skilled, Narukami just is not worth it for the most part. Um,
Yeah, no, I will dogpile on that. I
yeah,
will 100% agree.
yeah.
Aside from like one or two people that I see in my games regularly, nobody else plays Narukami right. They all still play her like I sit in my sniper's nest and take a pot shot every once in a while. If you go watch the people that I'm talking about, you will see them take pot shots every once in a while, yes, but you will see them if they don't finish off the target, actually zoom out of their little hidey hole and just start chasing that person down at the speed of light, tickling them with the normal left click because they can get away with it now and they don't have to fear getting just absolutely destroyed in skirmish.
Are there any players that you'd like to recommend just right now for people who are potentially thinking of picking up Narukami and want to look at like the best Narus that we have right now?
Zephyr, hands down.
Yep.
Zephyr.
Without a doubt.
And just to have a quick plug, we're having a Mecha University with Zephyr tonight.
We are.
In 2 hours. So
Perfect time.
perfect timing.
Indeed. Do I still have the MB Discord? Come on.
I do want to
do.
say, I think in the
Okay.
context of Renegade talking about like that specific comp, Naru definitely works 100%. But I know my placement was just based more on solo queue and just in a balanced comp like setting. Like I said, I would rather just in that kind of setting just have the Aquila and then leave room for something else.
Mhm.
But we did see like in the invitational that I think Naru did have some pretty cheeky wins.
Yeah, I just like on a straight head-to-head, Naru versus Aquila, I think Aquila
Oh, yeah.
offers a lot more, always.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. Especially coming to a certain striker that I can't wait to talk about.
But yeah, I think Aquila just always offers more than Naru. Even when you go into the hyper aggressive comps, I think Aquila kind of synergizes a little bit better than Naru, but it gives room for Naru to be viable. That's what it does. But I don't think it really comes past Aquila ever these days.
Mm.
At least not yet.
I think that's somewhat the unanimous choice. There is always, if you have a choice, take the Aquila, but Naru is not necessarily the worst pick in the world. So moving on
no,
to
definitely not.
moving on to the next sniper, we have Aquila. Now, once again, we'll go Charlotte, Thelian, and then Renegade because I'm sure Renegade is going to give us the best lowdown of this striker we've ever heard, and I can't wait. So
I'm going
let's
on a
start it
30-minute
off.
rant. You can't stop me.
I think Aquila is an odd one. I think it deserves to be S tier. I think Stellaris being in a match immediately brings it down to like B tier when it's in the match against Stellaris, which is often right now. But if what we talked about is kind of the truth of like Stellaris, doesn't end up being really viable in a competitive setting, I think that keeps Aquila S tier. But I'm gonna keep Aquila S tier, and talk about some of the other stuff that's like always consistent to not really rely on Stellaris. One, as Claw. Claw got buffed to be ridiculously strong. It hits almost every single time now. It's actually just insane. Um, uh, it's so good at punishing healers, especially like Lumi and Serenith. Lumi gets hit by Claw once, and as long as there's a melee character anywhere near her, she just dies, right? There's almost no counterplay. You can dodge the claw, but it's a lot harder these days, and especially on Lumi, you're generally looking down at your team and targeting your team, and so you don't always catch when an Aquila shoots their claw. And if you don't catch that initial shot of the claw, like you're just not going to be able to dodge it. Outside of the claw, you have multi-lock. Multi-lock is just crazy strong. Again, you multi-lock onto a Lumi. She gets killed so quickly by it. And if she's getting clawed at the same time and they have any other pressure from any other striker, that Lumi is almost always dead. I know Renegade likes to hunt me on cooldown. He will die and then he'll come back up, immediately pop multi-lock and start shooting claws at me and killing me. And there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I kind of just have to let my team do their thing. And just try and live for as long as I possibly can. And then just the damage. Aquila's damage is really consistent, really good at closing out kills. Aquila has a lot of tools, that's for sure. But yeah, that's my thoughts. S tier for sure. If it's going against Stellaris and Stellaris is in the match, brings it more down to a B, but it still can do work even in those matches where Stellaris is putting pressure on him.
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation, it might have been yesterday or 2 days ago now, and yeah, Stellaris against the Flyers is like the one of the only kind of what you would call a pure counter, just because of that grapple and the ability to chase. But right now, like you say, Aquila, unanimously given the S tier rank just because of how much it can do. Thelian, what about you?
So yeah, you know what? For me, that instant S tier. It's got a great utility with the claw that is actually able to interact with, the one striker I really, really want to talk about, and it puts its most powerful ability on full cooldown if it gets hit while it's up with that ability. So yeah, claw is also really, really consistent now. Consistent DPS is always very high mobility. It's able to move with the team really, really, really well. I actually want to disagree with Charlotte about Stellars. I think Stellars is still a great pick against Aquila. However, I think a good Aquila that knows how to move and knows how to play with its team really well and move around with its team is going to make it very, very troublesome for a Stellaris to actually successfully kill it on its own. Because a Stellaris should not be able to, or it isn't able to kill an Aquila in one go. It has to do it about 2 times at like bare minimum, provided it's able to land all of its combos. And even then, that's counteracted by the Aquila just flying up high. And there's one thing that I know Renegade likes to do a lot with Aquila is he likes to fly at the height of the sky ceiling or the skybox, so that when I do get up at top, my FCS is completely gone because I'm leaving the combat zone.
If I can't aim, you're not allowed to aim too.
Exactly.
I will
So
say
I don't think Aquila's value is brought down by Stellaris at all if that Aquila knows exactly what to do.
yeah, just on the point about the skybox stuff. Please, ASG, fix your boundaries on Sky City for the love of all that is holy. Like, I don't want to be flying around as a falcon and then be told that I'm too high when I'm only like 50 feet off the ground. Please make it a bit higher. Extend the ones on the circumference of the stage, and we'll be all Gucci. And
I would like
finally,
to.
Renegade.
I would like to hold on segue into that statement that you just make and please ask Season to ignore this man. I need those. Please do not move them. They're the only reason I survive. Please.
One thing I actually do want to add before we move on to Renegade is how Aquila separates itself from Narukami. It's its high mobility and its ability to not really require a full or a charge on its shot in order to deal full damage. Narukami has to sit still to charge a full shot and deal full damage, whereas Aquila does not. It's able to just move around, shoot for free, and if it misses, it's not really a huge value loss, whereas with Naru, it's a massive value loss if that charge shot misses.
Yeah,
Fair.
so as the Aquila main, literally no other striker comes close to basically making me have fun play the game than Aquila. And it's mostly because of the movement. The I will be the first one to admit to people I'm not the best Aquila player that I know.
He's so nice.
I don't have very good manual aim compared to the other people who play. The only thing that I will fight to the death people on that I think I'm better at is that I am very, very good at the movement. And I know basically how to move around terrain and play off terrain in order to keep myself alive, in order to make my value appear better. And because of that, uh, normally I would sit there and say Aquila is S tier, but the way the current meta is, in my opinion, I cannot put him in S tier, mostly because Aquila is made of wet paper. He dies
Oh
under
no.
pressure. And what do you mean? Hell no. Are you kidding me? Every single game I'm playing in, I get doped by like 4 to 5 people because they know that the moment they catch me even once, I am gone. There was a TDM match against 4 melee, a Falcon, and a Lumi, whose entire objective was to just find me in the game and just dogpile me 24/7. And I can confirm this because the Lumi that was on the enemy team is also in this podcast. Say hello to everybody, Charlotte, who sent all 5 of her
Hi,
pack dogs after me that game
hi, that's me.
and made
I
it to
did
where I
that.
did not have fun.
Action is coming.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, Aquila's made of wet paper. If he gets hit or caught out of position once, he basically ceases to exist. and his survivability is counterintuitive to team play due to the fact that once you get hit, your instinct is basically to run away as fast as humanly possible or do some like really crazy maneuvers in order to shake the people targeting you off, which makes receiving healing from your team or receiving support from your team very, very hard on them because if the enemy team can't find you, I can assure you your teammates can't find you either.
Yeah, he's kind of right.
So there are many games where I am literally just running for my life because I have the non-patched in season patch notes of Aquila having a plus 50% aggro radius in every single game that he's in. Uh, and just recently, there was a TDM match on the new TDM map where my team that I say my team, but the people that I'm playing with currently are like, oh, I don't know where the enemy team is. I can't find them anymore. Did they just quit? Where did they go? And I had to like scream into the mic, just look for me on the map. They're all here. Like there's literally 5 people around me. Please help me. Uh, but that is the only weakness of Akila right now is that the moment you put pressure on him and focus on him, he starts to fold very, very fast. He's basically put on a timer. The moment you drain his energy, he's gone. If you run out of energy in your and energy for your mobility kit, he evaporates. He's just gone. Uh, things that are currently too strong on him is basically the claw. The claw with the buff that it received on launch patch no longer needs the extra 3 attempts to claw the target once you send it. It's just too much. It's way too much because you can dodge it once, twice, or even 3 times, and it'll still try and jump after you one more time before returning back to the Aquila, and then refunding 75% of the cooldown for it when it does return to the Aquila. And that's just insane for what it does because not only does it disable a priority target mech, which is going to be probably the Welkin or the melee for about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds, it also prevents FCS lock-on, so it stops them from contributing after that and makes them just a sitting target for any call-outs and teammates like that. Everything else on Aquila right now, I feel like is fairly balanced. I would probably like to see the Aquila multi-lock nerfed a tiny amount. Probably if you're locking on to the exact same target more than once, I would like to see the relock on period extended a little bit, just so that way Loomies don't like pretty much threaten to have depression and jump off the nearest bridge every single time I see them.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Renegade, for getting the clips that I'm about to take from that specific segment thousands of views because
Oh no.
nobody is going to agree with that. But I love it. It's the best. It's so good that we have somebody who's willing to speak that way about Aquila. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I basically play nothing but Aquila. I have an alt that I'm using to learn new strikers, but on my main, I don't have a good time unless I'm playing Aquila. And if a non-meme amateur is what you want for me, I would probably have to put it at like solid A plus tier right now. I wouldn't give it S just because of how basically wet paper mache it's made out of. But it's also, I would say, a mandatory pick currently in the meta, mostly because Claw hard counters Welkin. If you every single Akil player in existence, if you see a Welkin with his 3-up, you dive bomb him and you spam 1 like your life depends on it. Because if you land that thing and you ping and you scream into the mic, he has no shield, kick his ass, he dies in 2 seconds, and Welkin is removed from the game.
Well, thank you for your very candid opinion and your honesty, Renegade. It's refreshing to hear something that isn't just Aquila S tier. Nerf, nerf, nerf. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. Right, let's just move on quickly before he thinks of something else to say about Aquila. We're going to move on to the Flyers. That's it. So we're going to talk about Falcon. Let's talk about Sky Raider first. Oh,
do you mind if we move on to the healers and it's because I want to talk about the meta comps, and I think it's really important to talk about the healers first before you talk about the comps. And both Flyers play heavily into the comps too.
All right, so let's go because I think you said that Panaka's stronger than Lumi, so we can go to Lumi first, and then we'll go to Panaka.
Yeah. Okay. This hurts to say as a Lumi
How
main.
excited Charlotte's
Um,
getting.
Lumi's in a great spot on paper. Her movement's great right now. Her healing's solid. Her direct damage is good enough to secure the kills. There's a lot to be said for Lumi. The problem is the two comps that look to be the meta right now are one comp called the cancer comp, lovingly, and the other comp called the fuck ass comp, lovingly. And so when the cancer comp is essentially a hyper aggressive comp, right? It is you play Falcon, Sky Raider, you play Aquila, you play 2 melees, and then you have a flex, which is usually another big damage dealer, and you just don't run any healing whatsoever. You have 6 huge damage dealers that move really fast, and they can just dive people hard. What ends up happening is any Lumi in the game is just free fodder for that comp. There is no staying alive against it. You can run, you can hide, you're gonna die. You're not gonna be able to heal your team almost at all. The first time I went against that comp, I had 9 deaths, like right out the gate. There was nothing I could do, um, and it was like it's just so punishing to Lumi that is insane. There's and it brings Lumi's tier strength down so far because it's starting to be such a prevalent comp. Um, and there's just nothing she can do about it. And then the other meta comp, right, which is the fuck ass comp, is essentially the ultra heavy comp. You have Stego, Tricera, Hurricane. You run Panaka for more healing than Lumi can do. You have a Welkin for defensive Welkin tools. And then you have your last one be a flex, probably a kilo though. But Lumi can't work in that comp because she's too squishy compared to Panaka and can't heal as much as Panaka. So when you have all these ultra heavies that really benefit from that percentage healing, and Panaka has 3 sources of really good percentage healing, whereas Lumi has her AoE heal and her drones, and so overall is a little bit weaker than Panaka into that comp. But also Lumi's squishier, so Lumi can get picked out of that comp. So if you're playing the fuck ass comp, you can't play Lumi. She's too squishy. She doesn't work with it. You're playing that comp to stay very tight and still, and Lumi wants to move around. She wants to be going from one point to the next. And because she doesn't work into either of those comps, and because she gets heavily punished by one of them, you don't really get as punished by the fuck ass comp. It's just you can't crack it. And neither Panaka nor Lumi really helps with that by themselves. But essentially, Lumi just has no place against either of them, and no place really like on them or against them, and she gets punished by them. So whereas normally Lumi would be sitting on an A tier for me, now she kind of falls to like a C, maybe B minus, probably in a C tier for me, which sucks. Um, she just dies too easy. Like
And just
it's
to
actually
well, just for clarification, anybody who sees this who isn't already like a top tier competitor or whatever, this is in the context of either of these two comps that you just mentioned, right, Charlotte? It's not if you have like if you're in ranked,
if
even
you
if
have
you're
a
in a
balanced
yeah.
yeah, so I'm thinking of everything in terms of competitive, in terms of like we're in these super high tier teams, going against each other. I'm not talking in terms of ladder. Like on ladder, Lumi's great. Most of the ladder is never going to punish you. It's better than Panaka on ladder every day of the week. Into ladder, it's probably A tier, S tier. Into competitive, where we're most likely going to see both of these comps showing up a lot or small variations of them, she just has no place, which sucks. but those comps are really, really bad for her. It's not even like it's not even just that they're bad, they're really bad. Lumi just gets absolutely demolished by the cancer comp. There's nothing you can do. Like it's you're dying on repeat and you're just hoping to stay alive as long as possible to keep their attention on you. But it's still gonna be a lot of deaths. So that's
Let's
my
just
thought.
move. Well, yeah, let's just move very quickly onto Panaka then instead of going around everybody else, because obviously
Yeah,
you're saying that Lumi is really kind of downtrodden by these two comps, and I think like you say, it would be important to go over both of the healers within these
yeah,
comps, and then we can talk about in general ladder, or even if you're just playing like scrims with people, you might not necessarily meet these two comps. So yeah, just covering as many
yeah.
bases as possible. So yeah, Panaka next.
Yeah, really quickly from Panaka, it's not like Panaka really has that much more that's better than Lumi. Against the cancer comp, it deals with the same issue. Panaka gets focused down, blown up very quickly, doesn't have a lot to do. The only thing that brings Panaka higher than Lumi is that Panaka has a spot on the fuck ass comp of this crazy ultra heavy comp. She has more sources of healing. She can use the walls both defensively and offensively to keep teams from being able to really affect your ball as much. And really can heal through any damage that's coming through into that comp. Outside of that, not really a great pick. She is too easy to kill. You can have a Welkin box her up and almost die almost every single time. If you're talking ladder, I would give Panaka a C tier and like Lumi an A tier. But when you're talking competitive, because Panaka actually has a spot on one of these two comps, I think she goes into B tier, honestly. And it hurts me to say that because I do not want to play Panaka in ladder because it's just not good in ladder. But when you talk in terms of competitive and what we'll see on stages soon, in the summer league that's coming up and the tournaments that are coming up, I think you're going to see a lot of people try to play Lumi and just get torn apart. I think that's what we'll see. So
Very
yeah,
informative. Thank you very much, Charlotte. And we'll
yeah.
just continue on. We'll go to Renegade this time. So first Luminate, then Panaka.
So if you had asked me this like a week ago, I would have said, "Oh, Bloom is in the same spot than she's always been. She was great in the OBT. She was the best healer in the OBT. She's great now. I would probably put her in like lower A tier, high tier B tier. As a striker overall, can do basically everything. Can heal, can provide utility with disruption for objective captures and stuff like that. Even through Welkin, the Great Shield and stuff like that. Basically, just a good overall support mech. But in the last couple of days, with the refinement of what we're now calling cancer comp, Lumi just can't exist. The moment Lumi appears on the map, it's dogpiled in less than 2 seconds, and there's no escape. There's no lock on break. There's no nothing. You can try and play around the Tricera and the Stego on your team if you have those. It doesn't help. They just get destroyed. Uh, Panaka, I would not even rate above Lumiere. Supports in general are just kind of in a bad spot uh, based on just the way they work. They don't really have that many defenses themselves to keep them alive, and they're all about providing utilities to the team, which unfortunately means that they're going to be a hard focus. And because they have no personal survivability skills, so to speak, they kind of just melt and die. Now, Panaka does have one position that it excels at, and that is on both payload maps. You pick Panaka on both payload maps. You can do it with a Lumi. Panaka is just going to provide more basically utility and more damage, while also pumping out more heals on your two most important characters, which is going to be your Tricera and your Stego. So only on those maps would I put Panaka higher. If you're going to climb on the ladder and you want to play support, uh, just pick Lumi. Lumi is going to be better for you. You're going to have a harder time on Panaka. But when it comes to high level team play, I don't really think either of them have a spot currently. So I would probably have to put Lumi at high C tier and then Panaka right behind Lumi.
This is depressing. But there is one
Yeah.
question that I'll ask after we go to Thelian. So we're going to do Lumine first, and then Panaka.
So this is a bit of a, like, I guess, an eye opener for me, kind of listening to that. Like, I know I was in that game where, you know, Charlotte, I think, went 8 or 9 deaths, and that was just like, oh my god, like, what did we just come against? Where, you know, our Lumine is dying, you know, 9 times over, and, you know, not being able to do anything. Like, I like, just, that's the hard truth of it, is, you know, you have to look at that data and go, okay, with that comp in mind, you know, before factoring in any kind of, like, you know, tournament setting or competitive setting where, you know, we're going to be going with, okay, striker bans are going to exist, so we can maybe ban one of those, you know, strikers out, you know. Okay, yeah, fine. Lumine C tier, I'm also very happy with that placement, because I do not like Lumine right now as someone who is hard maining Stellaris, because like I said, you know, that little evil red drone made by Satan just tickles you, and you can't stealth and get away, and then everyone, you know, is on top of you and you die. So you know what? Let's get Lumine out of here. Let's delete Lumine. In fact, I would probably even actually, like, just on payload, like Renegade said, I think I'm gonna put. I think, did we actually go over? But yeah, we did go over both Panaka and Lumine. I'm gonna value Panaka just at B, like, just on payload. Otherwise it's C, because at least with Panaka, you know, you got, like, the higher, like, kind of single target healing output with the shield, and then on top of that you have the walls to add, you know, pressure to the enemy's payload to force them off. Likewise with Stellaris, you know, being able to pressure the enemy payload and push them off, and, you know, deny them advances is good. Otherwise, I don't have too much to say on the topic of Panaka and Lumine, because I haven't dabbled too much into the cancer comp or the fuck ass comp either. But, you know, ladder, you know, whatever, you know, play Lumine. Lumine would probably be, in my opinion, like, on ladder, is like just a solid A tier. You couldn't go wrong with that. But, you know, this is competitive. This is meta. C tier. Delete Luminate, by the way.
Okay.
And I mean, just to say something too, right? We played against Anubis, the number one team in the world. Like, even now, people are still considering them the number one team in the world. I think the very first match we went against them, I had 5 deaths, and they were focusing me. And I took some time to adjust. And second time I went up against them, I think I had 2 deaths on the second map. And I adjusted, and that was fine. I mean, against the cancer comp, like, with and that was an early version of it, with players who do not, like, have been playing together, but they weren't even a team really. They just kind of threw it together, and to get 9 deaths against that, and then, you know, and after I went up against it and tried Lumi again, I was still getting 5+ deaths, you know, every match. Um, there's just no counterplay to it. It doesn't matter how good a Lumi player you are. It doesn't matter what teammates you have. If you go against that comp, you're gonna die. You're gonna die a lot. It's gonna suck. You're not gonna do a whole lot for your team. It's just not worth it. Like, unfortunately, as a Lumi main, it really hurts to say that. I say that as I'm currently on my Smurf account learning to play Falcon because I can't play Lumi anymore.
So the question that I wanted to ask is, are healers, because obviously I know you've been saying that in ladder you can play pretty much Lumi. If you want, you can play Panaka, whatever. But for people who aren't competing right now, what is your advice to them if they do want to compete? And what is your advice to them if they just want to play ranked in terms of healers to play?
If you just want to play ranked, play Lumi. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. It'll work, you know, 99 times out of 100, unless you're up into like high indestructible ranks. Um, you can play Panaka on your payload maps, and Panaka will do really well there. You might die a little bit more, but you'll still be having fun, enjoying it. If you get into comp, you need to learn something else right now, how the meta is. You have to have something outside of those 2 healers. I think depending on how bans go in comp, you might see those healers being played, but you at least need the flexibility to play something else. You know, if it turns out that one day, like one match, both Falcon and Skyraider are banned out, um, in the same match, you know Cancer Comp's not going to be played, you can play Lumi. Or you can play Panaka and feel a little bit better about it. But outside of that, if Cancer Comp is up, or even fuck ass comp is up, it's just not worth it to play Lumi. You got to play something else. You got to learn something else. It's just the reality of it.
So is there? I'll come to Stallion and Renegade in a second, but is there a world in which a healer, or even two healers, is viable in either of against either of those two comps? And the reason I'm asking is because healers are generally not very well treated because people think it's the easiest role to play because all you do is you click the left click button and then you get a heal and that's what you have to do. And we don't want to discourage people from playing healers, obviously, but the reality means that sometimes you might have to sacrifice playing a healer. Is there a world in which either of those comps could be taken on by a comp with a healer?
Thought about this a lot, like a lot, like basically since the game launched. Because I really love the idea of double healer. The problem is the way their healing overlaps doesn't negate the ability to be focused down and killed very quickly. So Lumi drones overlap with Panaka drones. So when either one of them gets focused, like so say Lumi's getting focused, Panaka can throw bubble on Lumi, and that'll help and be a little more healing. But it can't put drones on because Lumi will already have her own drones on. And then Panaka's melee heal, that Lumi is going to have to be moving very quickly. You're not going to be able to get that melee heal, even with the new tether that it has to it. So it actually doesn't really help the Lumi from getting focused down and killed. That bubble is not going to stop that from happening. And then same with the Panaka. Like if the Panaka is being focused, it's the same as normal, right? Panaka can put shield on herself. She can put drones on herself. Obviously she can't grapple herself, so she has those two sources of healing. Lumi can't put drones on her because she'll already have her own drones, or maybe there'll be the drones there, but it's just not enough to stop the focus from the Cancer comp. So as much as I would love double healer to be a thing, I just and maybe someone can make it work, but I just don't see it as viable. There's going to be just too much focus damage in the way the healing is in this game, especially because it's all percentage healing, which is a good and a bad thing. But for lower health targets like Lumi, that means like those percentages are smaller, and still can be focused down, all the same. So, yeah, it just even with double healer, I don't think there is a spot for it. But we obviously haven't seen every comp yet. We haven't seen competitive start flourishing. Obviously we're starting up things coming this Sunday with competitive play really getting serious here. But yeah, until that time, I don't think there's anything for it.
Thank you for that. And Thelian, your take on the whole healer thing?
Yeah, right now, in my honest opinion, it's just I don't think I have enough experience with either of the comps yet to really formulate a full, wholehearted opinion. I would definitely like to see a lot of healer play in competitive, just because I like being able to take a bit of damage as Stellaris, dip out and then get topped off and then go back in again. That for me is really, really enjoyable because that's part of my team play. That's part of my coordination with my team, and them telling me to dip out because there's too much pressure, or me going, okay, that's too much pressure, I need to get out. Other than that, right now, I wish they were a little more viable, but Panaka right now with the existence of a certain Well King, you flash the bubble off, and suddenly Panaka's identity is just gone, and then Panaka dies, and even likewise with Lumine, Welkin just flashes drones off, it dies, and then with all the hard focus right now in the game with this Cancer comp, Lumi's just dying. It's I don't know what to really say on it right now. I really want to run these comps down just in a team environment more, just to get the data on it, and then come back to you on it and kind of say what I truly think on it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, considering that we've done this twice now, there's no reason why we can't make this a semi-regular feature whenever there are
Yeah.
buffs and nerfs and changes and stuff.
Yeah,
and we just
and
come back.
we got to keep in mind, like right now, we're only 2 weeks like deep into the game. We
Yeah.
finally got it in our hands. We're still figuring things out, especially with a certain striker that I really, really do want to talk about that
God,
isn't
you
Welkin,
won't
by the way.
stop.
It's not Welkin. This one I want to talk about this time. It's another one.
Okay. I
But
believe it.
yeah.
All right, and Renegade.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in tournament play, in high level team coordinated play, scrims and whatnot, healers are not going to have a place. Unfortunately, it's just the way the meta is currently. You're just going to die. And I have several. As somebody who has been participating in its own cold cancer comp and refining it with one of my teammates, we basically picked up two people that aren't on a team. We just kept playing into them over and over again, and then I started to notice, oh, when these two are on the enemy team, my life is 300% harder. And there's a screenshot that I took that basically showcases the very early rough drafts of what is known as cancer comp right now, and it's 15 seconds into the match. I'm already at 10% health with all of my energy gone, and all five of the people who are trying to kill me are within shooting range, and I cannot escape them. And basically, after that happened, we compiled onto it and started finding out, okay, what works better, this or this? What do we need? What do we not need? And the current iteration that we have of it right now has not been defeated on non-payload maps. We have 100% win rate with it. And
That's
this is
crazy.
including against full 6-man stack teams of full teams. And we had maybe two people who were on a team, two people who just do ladders together who aren't on a team, one random Welkin player that we just found who was good at the game, and then
On the
another
street.
person who's just randomly, and one person who was on a completely other different team. And they basically rough numbers right here. They had a total of 38 kills
What?
on the full 6-man stack team of a very highly competitive 6-man stack team. And the 6-man stack team had a total of 5 kills against them.
Yeah, it's awful. It's just it hurts.
It's awful.
It hurts
Yeah.
as a Lumi main.
That's all
It
it is.
hurts
It's
as a
just
Lumi
awful.
main.
Yeah.
There's
There's something about the fact that every time a game has like a healer, it doesn't matter which game, it doesn't matter what genre, it's just that nobody knows how to balance them properly. Like, how do you make it so that a healer isn't too strong? That if it does damage, how much damage should it do? If it needs to have survivability to keep on healing, should it be 2B feed so that it can't just be soloed? But then, do you know, it's a mess. And honestly, it's better that this stuff comes to light so that ASG sees it and goes, "Oh shit, we didn't actually know about this, so there's something we need to do." Otherwise, the game's just going to be dominated by these comps consistently, and people are going to end up leaving the game.
Luminate gets buffed into the stratosphere again. Same with Panoplia. Suddenly,
hey,
it's like it's August beta.
If healing gets buffed and potential for healing not overlapping too, it might just sway in a different direction. Who knows? But like I say, it's better that it comes out now than, in 6 weeks' time when season 1 is here and you're still dealing with the same bloody comp. It's not going to be a good look. So, right, let's move on from the depressing nature of the healers in this game so far, and let's move on to the flyers. So we'll move on to Sky Raider first. We'll do Charlotte, then we'll do Thelian, then we'll do Renegade. So Sky Raider.
Yeah, I think Skyrim is in a beautiful spot right now. Very hard to kill, does great damage, point disruption with its AoEs. Like it got buffed to the point that is I think a better flyer than Falcon right now. I think it's in a better spot than Falcon. It just the damage is very consistent. The mobility is all there. Especially on the moon map with how it has the
Oh yes.
increased regen from it. Like, it's just incredibly good on that map. And even outside of that, it's just able to go to side points, able to do everything it needs to be that S tier for me. I don't know that's necessarily as fun to play. I think Skyraider players still wanted to have more damage, through reworking of its weapon, but I see it in almost every comp we've been talking about. Skyraider works into a cancer comp, can be flexed into um, the fuck ass comp by replacing the Kilo with the Skyraider, and I think that's very viable.
Mm.
Um, so I think yeah, it works into both of the comps, and it's just very good in general. So it's probably high A tier, low S tier, but I'm gonna give it that S tier, I think.
I mean, Skyraider needs a bit of love at the moment after its buffs. It's not enough. It needs to be coddled a little bit more. So, thank you for putting it in S for us, Charlotte. And now let's move on to Thelian. What do you think about Skyraider?
Very, very annoying is what I'll say. Like, it's not too much of an issue. Like as Stellaris, I'll grapple, kill it, whatever, call it a day. But when I'm trying to stealth cap and that Sky Raider knows, I'm trying to stealth cap, and it's just it'll drop its bombs, glorp on me, whatever you want to call it. It's not a fun time, and it is one of the things that I noticed disrupts the fuck ass comp really, really well. Is it goes in, drops its bombs, drops its jammers, and suddenly our Stego, our Hurricane, suddenly we can't do anything, can't lock on, can't do nothing. But other than that, like you know what, to me, I want to put it in S, but I think it is like starting to like border on it. I wouldn't quite call it S, but it's very, very high A tier, bordering into that category for me.
See, this is consistently interesting. I mean, it might be the case, but I think, as Charlotte said, Falcon's just way more fun. It's just
I would agree.
all of the things, the missiles and the shooties, and then you can even do some of the missiles without being locked on, as well as the shooties. And Skyraider doesn't have the spiral, and it's just, I mean, Skyraider might be better, but I want to play Falcon instead. Right, Renegade, how do you feel about Skyraider?
Skyraider's S tier. It is literally perfect. The misconception I believe that people have about it right now is that they still think of it as the like really good attacker unit that
Yeah.
it used to be, and then it got Omega nerfed, and then it just did not exist in the last open beta test, except for if your Aquila got banned and you picked it instead. Uh, as it is right now in the current meta, it's not an attacker. It is the best support striker in the game right now. It can do literally everything. And it is a vastly different game for me when there is one on the enemy team and I do not have one on my team. It is probably at the bottom of the S tier, but it is an S tier pick. It does good damage, and that damage is chip damage with its laser. So you just team up with anybody else that's on your team, whether it be a Falcon, an Aquila, or anybody else that can help you punish those people with high mobility. You run with them, you turn the game into a 5v6 instantly within the first 10 seconds of the game. Its disruption, one of the best defensive utility abilities in the game. It does so much work versus the high energy damage DPSers like Aquila, Inferno. Uh, it even helps some of the melee. It helps stop Falcon missiles. It basically does everything. It's very good. And then not only that, it also enables the kills on all the hard to kill targets. So all the ultra heavies. That missile that you can throw down that puts the little yellow ball on people, there's no ultra heavy player that I know in existence that's just going to sit there and take it. And the moment they de-transform out of their fortress mode or out of their like stego stationary mode, every pit bull in existence on your team is going to capitalize that jump on them and kill them while they're out of their defenses. It's the best enabler striker in the game, and I would honestly say it's kind of a mandatory pick right now.
So this is why people are saying that Sky Raider is better than Falcon right now. It's not because of any extra potential damage output. It's not because it's faster. It's not necessarily because it has more energy than it. It's literally because of the ability to deny all forms of defensive play. So, like you were saying, Renegade, transforming, capping points, all that sort of stuff. It's such a good striker at doing what it's such a good. It's late. My brain's not working. It does what it does very, very well and better than anybody else. Is essentially what I'm trying to say.
It is, like I said, it's the best support striker in the game currently because it lets the rest of your team have fun.
Yeah. Okay. And then we will come to Falcon, the one that people are saying is dog water tier at the moment. Not sure that I fully agree, just as a side note.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Charlotte?
So here's the thing. Game released, played for a day or two. I was like, Falcon sucks. Fuck Falcon. I do not care about Falcon. I don't want one on my team. I don't want to see anyone in my game playing it. Like, it just doesn't, by itself, it doesn't have enough damage to like focus down on a target. And then came the cancer comp. And the cancer comp being what it is, being hyper aggressive, having that tons of single target focus, Falcon works perfectly into it. It has all the speed to keep up with it, a lot of damage when it's being added on to everyone else's damage. Um, no one's able to focus it either because there's so much pressure on that comp. Like it's just never can die. Um, unless you have a bad Falcon player, and in which case that's a whole different thing. But if you have a
Plenty of
good
those.
Falcon player on your team in the cancer comp, it'll never die. It'll be really consistent. It'll put a ton of pressure on. And if you're playing that comp and you need to split someone off for a side point really quickly, send the Falcon. Go over that side point really quickly while the rest of your team is murdering them, or you just keep snowballing and get around to grabbing the point when you feel like it. So that said, I think I put Falcon somewhere between B and A tier now because of the way it works into that comp and because that comp is so strong.
Mm.
By itself, probably C tier, if you're just playing it on ladder, but if you're actually playing competitive and it is such a key part of that comp that I'm going to give it that A tier though, because it is vital that you have the double flyer for that comp, in my opinion. So, and that comp is just so strong right now that it brings its whole tier up probably higher than it individually deserves. But yeah, that's how it works right now.
So if I could just ask for a point of clarification. So you say that if you're like solo queuing ladder, or even if you're maybe 2 or 3 stacking, you say that Falcon is C tier. Why would that be?
Because there's not enough team focus onto who the Falcons could focus on, and because Lumi is so prevalent, and Lumi's able to heal through that Falcon damage pretty easily. When you take out the Lumi from the situation, which the cancer comp does, because it's just not viable, and it will die too fast. Or if it does play into it, it got not punished. But when you're playing a Falcon on ladder, it's very easy to just get countered by Lumi. That's kind of the short of it. Lumi will be able to out heal the damage that you do, and usually your team is not going to be coordinated well enough to focus in the damage that's coming from the Falcon. So it's just going to get really spread out. It's not that you won't get kills now and then, but you're never going to carry a game as a Falcon. And I think if you have absolutely zero ability to carry, you go into C tier on the ladder for me. If you have some ability to carry, maybe into the B tier, but you really need something there, and Falcon just doesn't have it when she's by herself.
Okay, fair enough. And Thelian?
Yeah, for me, I would put Falcon, I think, just in A tier, just kind of below Sky Raider, just in terms of like where it is, like in A tier specifically. No one really talked about the radar and just how annoying that is to deal with the Stellaris. Because, like, once again, Falcon is one of 2 characters in the game right now that are actually able to really interact with and sniff out a Stellaris for you. The other one is kind of Lumi. Lumi gets a lucky little drone hit on Stellaris, the little evil red tickle drone. and it can't stealth. Falcon, all it has to do is pop radar, and the entire team, like again, if you're running cancer comp, pop radar, point out the Stellaris. Stellaris is probably dead within 2 seconds. Like it's just
Yeah.
everyone, like the Stellaris isn't surviving. Like as much as I love Stellaris, but Falcon is still, I think it has its place, especially on Aya Mizra and Vigil. Where on Vigil it's a lot faster, and then the Storm comes in, and Falcon can still pop radar for its team, play the game, have fun. Everyone's still able to lock on. Everyone's happy. It's a good time.
It's a good time. I like that. And Renegade.
Falcon is going to be top of A tier, just below Aquila, in my opinion. Like Charlotte was saying, when the game first launched, with the introduction of Stellaris and its ability to basically just be the anti-flyer striker, I, like everybody else, thought Falcon just got completely dumpstered on, and there was no point in playing Falcon, and your team was throwing if you had a Falcon on your team. But I didn't look at it correctly because it's in the same position as Narukami is now, where it is an exponentially scaling striker based on who is basically playing with it. If I said Skyraider is the best support striker in the game, Falcon is probably a really, really good carry striker. He needs to be built around and basically needs the exact right team comp in order to really shine. But when you do get that exact right team comp, they are the super oppressive. Mostly because all of your damage is basically going to be shredding the enemy team's fluid armor. And with your teammates in the cancer comp doing true / pierce / ship damage, you shredding that fluid armor just elevates them all to a higher level. And then not only that, but like Thelian said, the radar is one of the most slept on abilities in the game currently. With it, you counter every single stealth mechanic in the game. Stellaris just does not get to play. Narukami just does not get to play. And then even with the current quote unquote fuck ass comp, where they all just huddle and hold hands together when they stego smoke, you radar, and there's nothing they can do about it. It just stops them from playing the game because your damage just keeps going through. Uh, and because of that, and because of the aerial maneuvers that it still has, and the energy regen, which honestly I do not think is a problem. Uh, Go huff on blue crystals like the rest of us. You don't have to be in the air 24/7. It is a very good pick in its specific comp. In every other comp by itself, if you are solo queuing this Falcon, you're not going to have a good time on the ladder. If my highest recommendation to people, if you want to play Falcon, go find somebody to play Skyraider with you, and then just terrorize the lobby. But I would put it right below Aquila in A tier.
That's really interesting. So the question that I wanted to ask you in particular, Renegade, is, and just a one-word answer, who wins in the matchup between Falcon and Aquila in a 1v1?
Aquila.
Okay, cool. Good to hear you say that. Was there something somebody else wanted to say about this? I thought I heard somebody
No,
try. No,
I don't think so. No.
no. Okay, it's just my headset going a bit mental. So we have moved on from the Flyers, and now we are going to move on to the Ultra Heavies. Let's go to Hurricane, then we'll go to Inferno, and then we'll go to the Dinos.
Yeah. Hurricane. Not great. Hurricane works in the fuck ass comp, which is true. It's part of that comp, but it's one of the weaker parts of it. In general, Hurricane just gets very punished by melees. That hasn't changed from last beta. It just doesn't have the tools to stay alive. It's very easy to focus. Its damage isn't bad. Its actual abilities aren't bad, but they need a reworking of some kind to keep it more survivable. So even though it works into the fuck ass comp, what would normally be something that's C tier is getting a bump to the B tier just because it is part of that comp. But I think by itself, Hurricane is just too easy to kill. That's kind of the short of it. It's an ultra heavy that just feels like it's made of paper at the end of the day. So yeah, B tier.
Same as Aquila. And Renegade, what's your thoughts on Hurricane?
Hurricane is awful. You are literally throwing if you pick Hurricane. And I
Yep.
say that based on my teammate, my good friend,
Mhm.
is a Hurricane main, and every single time I ask him how do I play Hurricane, he goes, "Here, I'll teach you how to play Hurricane." And then he goes, "What you want to do is you want to go to Striker Select, and then you want to pick literally anything else." And the reason behind that is because unfortunately, if there is more than one melee on the enemy team, you do not get to play the game. Your kit just has literally nothing to deal with melee who are good at the game. Uh, and because of that, you don't get to have fun. Now, there are certain situations where you would pick Hurricane, uh, mostly only on payload maps. You would only pick it on payload maps, and you would only pick it in order to basically combo with another ultra heavy, such as Inferno, to just pop all of your abilities and melt the enemy Stego/Tricera into the ground to where they cannot be healed through it. And besides those specific niche situations, Hurricane is just in a really bad spot.
Fair, short and concise. How about you, Thelian?
Yeah, so right now, like, I have to agree with Charlotte. I think at least just like minimum B tier, just because at least right now it has a place. And I guess that's kind of contradicting with Naru being placed in C, I'm realizing now. But I'll still kind of stand by that C tier Naru. But Hurricane, yeah, just kind of at least has a place in fuck ass comp, at least just for decoy drones and for dome. Like, that's fine. But otherwise, like, again, you're picking this in ladder, you're picking this in any kind of balanced comp, you're straight up throwing. Like, just don't do it. You're gonna get dogged by 2 melee, 1 melee even. The Welkin is just gonna flashbang you. And you're gonna be, rendered completely like, obsolete by that alone. And then you're gonna die. At least you got some decent sort of point denial, but it's not really worth anything if you just die outright.
Yeah, makes complete sense to me. And so on the flip side, of course, I can never remember if Hurricane's the sister or the brother. But on the flip side, Inferno. What are we thinking, Charlotte?
Inferno's in a okay spot. It doesn't really like perform to a crazy point, but it's consistent. It's survivable with the Trans Am, so it's a little bit harder to focus than Hurricane. Um, its damage is better than Hurricane. It doesn't obviously give the team tools, which is why you see Hurricane in Fuckhouse Comp and you don't see Inferno in there. I know there's been some iterations of Cancer Comp trying to roll Inferno. Um, but I think Inferno lives in that B tier, probably above Hurricane, but still in that B tier. There's not enough there, and it doesn't synergize well enough for either comp. It kind of works in the Cancer comp, but I don't think it's one of the strongest parts of that comp. I think that's something that could be flexed pretty easily. So definitely in that B tier for me. And as I'm looking at it, basically the way my tier list works right now is like S tier, always pick it onto your team in like the current meta. A
Mm-hmm.
tier is like almost always, B tier is like on occasion you pick, C tier is almost never you pick, and D tier is gonna be never ever pick it. That's how my tier list is shaking out here. So B tier for Inferno, sometimes play it, depending on the comp and flex and who you have on as players on your team.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then let's continue that trend. Then we'll go to Renegade first. Is this similar to how your tier list is working, or is yours formatted slightly different? And then we'll get your thoughts on Inferno, and then we'll do the same with Thelian.
Basically, my tier list is heavily skewed just on what is going to have a position in a high level team comp, in my opinion. Are going to be basically the mandatory picks. If
Yeah.
you don't have them, you're not going to be able to run at full efficiency. A's are pretty much the flex picks, the ones that can be interchanged in and out for the comp. If you don't have one of them, it's not the end of the world. You can pick something else to go with them. B's are kind of just like they're good strikers, like they're in a really good spot significantly on their own. They just don't really have a position on a team comp currently, with C's needing a lot of help, and D is if you pick it, you are trolling.
Okay. Good to know. And thoughts on Inferno?
Inferno, Inferno is in a really awkward position, in my opinion, mostly because its kit is very, very good right now. It is probably the most balanced kit on its own, in my opinion. Uh, it does its role very, very well, which is just pushing out a lot of energy damage. The problem with it is that it provides zero utility. It is the one of the most selfish playstyle strikers in the game, and requires basically your team to play around you as the playmaker and the main damage dealer on the team. Because of that, if you want to climb on the ladder and you want a damage dealing mech that you know you can carry with, pick Inferno. If you are in a team comp and you're trying to win high team coordinated team play games, Inferno is probably not the pick.
Easy peasy. And what about you, Thelian?
Yeah, so I have to agree with Renegade's take just on, Inferno being, a striker that has no utility whatsoever. Like, if you want to play like a damage dealing striker that at least offers some degree of like team utility, again, just pick Aquila. Because at
Mhm.
least Aquila has the functionality of the Claw. At least Claw is going to be able to help your team out. Again, you see that Welkin, Claw his ass when he has his Ox 3 up and then point it all out to the team. There you go, that Welkin dies. Easy peasy. Inferno has a much harder time dealing with that Welkin due to the existence of the Ox 3 negating, all that energy damage that the Inferno pumps out. Inferno is way too bursty, way too slow to recover all of its shotgun shots. The shotgun shots now don't even deal piercing damage, which is a huge loss for Inferno's like value. Just as being like this, very close range, almost unga bunga, play style.
Yeah.
And then at least, it has the benefit of, over Hurricane with at least Transam, right? It can Transam, and if you manage that well and you move well, you can at least survive. But again, it's something you're gonna have to like you play around that Inferno with your team. You need to build around it, manage it. It's just if again like maybe I'm too Aquila brained, but like if I had to like if you told me to pick Aquila and Inferno like and put them both on a team, I'd just say no. Just play the Aquila and then play something that can at least offer a little more team utility, like a Sky Raider, for instance. I kind of almost actually regret now putting Sky Raider in A tier because, like, listening to Renegade and Charlotte's points on Sky Raider's, team utility while still providing that solid damage output. But
Yeah.
yeah, to me, I'm putting in like Inferno just in B tier, like right next to Hurricane. Just at least the siblings can stay together.
And in terms of your tier list, is it similar
It,
in format? Like, S is
yeah,
100%,
so
yeah.
So it's similar in format. Like again, I do almost regret putting Sky Raider in A tier. I did say he was like very much bordering on the S tier. Um, as in like so S tier is like you pick this like 100% of the time. You want
Yeah.
this on your team constantly, always. A tier, they're all great, solid choices that you can never ever go wrong with. If you don't know what to add into your team composition, just pick one of those. B tier, they have a little more niche functionality, maybe a bit more map specific, like maybe Harbor, or maybe like you want an Eliseness on Sinkhole or something to hold a side point. C tier is something you're rarely ever going to pick, but it might fill like a very niche role in a certain team composition. And then D tier is just never ever pick this in your life. You're going to throw. Your team is going to hate you for it, and I will hate you for it.
Fair enough. So we have 4 strikers left. We're going to go through the 2 dinos, then we're going to go through the last support, and then we're going to finish because there are no more strikers after that. So first, we're going to go to Stego. We're going to go to Charlotte, and I want you to tell me what you think of this striker because I have very heavy thoughts about this one in particular. But let's go through you 3 first.
Stego. This one's tough because obviously it has a place on podcast comp, right?
Mhm.
Stego has good damage. It has Stego smoke, which is useful for your team. Um, it's lagging behind though. It doesn't offer enough team utility, especially in a world where there's a lot of direct damage these days. And so that Stego smoke giving your fluids back isn't really as impactful as it used to be.
Mhm.
Um, the damage itself is hard to land through with the way team comps are playing right now, as they're like just going a lot faster. Things are moving, so the Stego's having to reposition a lot, and that means that damage isn't coming through as often. And especially with the prevalence of Sky Raider now, of like the Sky Raider puts, hit their bombs down on top of that Stego, that Stego's gonna have to get up and move. And Sky Raider's playing every single match these days with how good it is. So it really reduces the effectiveness of Stego. On those payload maps, obviously still good, but even though it's on the fuck ass comp, I'm actually tending to put it more. I almost want to put it in C, but I'm gonna put it in B, basically one slot ahead of Hurricane. Of like both
Mm.
of them are, if you're playing them on ladder, they're kind of C tier, I think. I think even Stego on ladder is a bit C tier, you know. Um, but there's at least a spot for them in the meta right now, even though it's not a great spot, to be honest.
And Thelian.
Yeah, so Stego's just, I don't know, it's a weird one for me because I see a lot of people generate a lot of value off of Stego just by being able to sit there unchecked. But if, that Sky Raider is there just, bombing it, Stellaris just kind of sitting on it, getting it to move, again, it's not really going to be doing a whole lot. I mean, even really then, I'd only jump on a Stego if I have no other target, and that's just to get it to move. So it's not shooting. And yeah, like Stego Smoke, it has really, really good uptime right now. Like a really, really good refund on it. You can get some decent value from that, but like fluid armor, direct damage, I don't know, like I'm putting it, like I want to put Stego just maybe high B. At least like maybe bordering into A. I still think it's a really, really good pick on stuff like Krob or not Krob, sorry, like Kate
Kate Blanc,
Blanc and
yeah.
and Stella, just because it's able just to sit there. If it's able to sit there and shoot, you're denying cap, and that's a great tool to have. Just being able to stop the enemy from capping, to be able to buy time for other people to get up there, get back into the fight, and move. It's good, but I mean, yeah, as of right now, has a place in fuck ass, but just yeah, not really, much else. It's still a good pick and ladder, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm gonna need a little more experience on that.
Fair. And Renegade.
So this is where I'm going to have to disagree with both of them. The fuck ass comp only exists because Stego exists. Without Stego, the fuck ass comp just can't work. The smoke is not just for the fluid regeneration. It regens it regens their fluid armor, yes. But the main reason you want to use it is so that way everybody who's sitting in your smoke with you is now is basically has stealth, and then you can sit there and reset and get your Welkin, your Tricera, or whatever ultra heavies you have in the comp back up to full health after they just got bursted down by the enemy team. So without Stego and Stego Smoke, that comp would not be able to be basically as annoying and oppressive as it is right now. Especially as Stego right now, who is a good Stego player. Stego is mislabeled. It is not an ultra heavy attacker. It used to be. It used to be a great ultra heavy attacker in the OBT. It is now an ultra heavy defender. Its entire purpose is to basically enable the rest of its ultra heavy brothers to do their job. And a good Stickle player basically does nothing but practice their cooldown reset rotation, and that's it. So in that, I would probably put it at the high B tier, just bordering on A tier.
Interesting. So the reason why I said I had a pretty big opinion, I guess, on this particular striker is because I agree that Stego's kind of dog right now. I don't really play Stego, but I genuinely don't think a Stego is ever really a threat either. Like, a Stego sits his ass down and just starts pressing all the buttons and firing all the things as a Falcon, as a Stellaris, Panther, whatever. Go behind him, take his health out, and force him to move. there really doesn't seem to be any other gameplay other than that singular loop. And maybe I'm just finding really bad stegos, but stego just doesn't seem very good right now. Please, one of you, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he's fucking D tier right now.
Oh no! If you're climbing,
Definitely, he's not D tier, 100%. There is someone who fits that bill way better than Stego does, and we will get into that shortly, my friends.
We're
it is.
almost there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say Stego is D tier only if you are solo queuing Stego. Like if you intend to pick Stego and try and carry your team to victory, you're gonna have a bad time. If you have like a minimum 3 to 4 friends who can play around you and know how to say Stego, please save me, and you press your little smoke ability, and then you sit there and be like, look, I'm contributing, and then you press it again so it gets a 3-second cooldown. Then you'll have a good time, and your team will thank you for it.
I don't know. I just like the smoke is good for the fluid armor regen, but you can see Stego through that fucking smoke as any other striker. And for the purposes of being able to hide, I don't know. Maybe I'm just fighting consistently terrible Stegos and fine. But
I do want to say
yeah.
one quick thing against Renegade too. Talking the smoke. Just earlier we were talking about Falcon, and obviously that radar negates smoke, and they have pretty similar cooldowns. It's not that far off. So a Falcon that's playing. So say you're playing Cancer Comp into Fuck Ass Comp, right? Of the two Nightmare, I'm pretty sure Cancer Comp wins that, but point being, Falcon can just radar, see through the stego smoke, and not have to worry.
Oh no, I 100% agree. Cancer Comp beats that 100% of the time
Yeah.
because Falcon exists. In fact, I stated that when we were tiering Falcons.
Yeah.
The only reason why I rate Stego so high is that when you're doing just ranked ladder, you don't have the benefit of knowing what the enemy team is going to pick. And because so few Falcon players are sticking with Falcon to play Falcon, they are incredibly rare at the high end rank of the ladder, the leaderboard, and like in the high elo play. So if you basically just get a group of 6 stacks or 5 stacks and you run the fuck ass comp with Stego, you can run undefeated without sweating at all. Like it's so easy to play.
Definitely.
Yeah. You could be right. Again, it's just it doesn't seem. Yeah, well, I've made my case, and that's where we're going to leave that for now. Okay, so we are going to move on to the other dino, bro. It's Tricera. How are we feeling about Tricera, Charlotte?
I think Tricera on its own is in a better spot than Stego. And I think Tricera is still living in that B tier, though. I think it's for me living between Inferno and Panaka. The healing drones are a nice benefit. The taunt is a nice benefit. There's a lot of team utility there. The damage, if you time the howitzers with your team and coordinate them coming through, can actually burst down people decently well.
Yes.
So I think it has a little more to offer than Stego in this meta, but again, we're talking into these limited comps here. When you talk ladder, you talk maybe a balanced comp comes out depending on bans in a competitive situation. I think Tricera is always the better pick than Stego if you have them both up. It just brings more of that utility through healing and through taunt. Then I'm really seeing the value of the stego smoke, especially into how it works. When you're on a payload map, Tricera is going to be able to live on that payload more than the stego is, so it kind of beats out on the utility there as well. And yeah, it just felt like it used to be the damage from stego was so significant that it surpassed Tricera based off of that damage it was able to do, but now it just isn't able to do that damage as effectively. So Tri has kind of gone higher in value for me than Stego.
Sorry, where did you put Trike?
In B tier between Inferno and Panaka.
Oh yeah, there we go. I see. Cool. Renegade, what about you?
Tricera has fallen the fuck off. It used to be the most oppressive striker in the game, in my opinion, because taunt is probably one of the best utilities in the game.
Mhm.
Being able to basically take the enemy team and say, no, 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 you don't get to shoot any of my friends, you shoot me, is very, very, very strong. The problem with it now is that Tricera is now basically the last person picked in dodgeball. They're too slow, they're too fat, they can't get anywhere. Their entire purpose is to basically stay in one location, and then if you ask them to move, you'll see them at the end of the game. Uh, they are only good on payload. I do not want to see a Tricera in any of my games, except for on Palm Bay Harbor or Airstrip launch site. If you pick, like, if I see one on my team, like the argument could be made that, oh, you want one on Sinkhole or you want one on the new Sinkhole. I forget the name of it. Poseidon Armory, that one.
Mm-hmm.
You were basically just saying, okay, I picked this to not play the game because your job is to basically sit on one point and stay there. And any
I
good
was
team is going to know to not go to that location where the Tricera is because it's not worth it. And then they can just win the two site battle the entire time. So then nothing happens on that third point.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly make a point here. Um, Renegade, if you have a really good player, a Tricera can't actually stop a side point cap for sure. You can juke him enough and burn his energy enough that they actually cannot stop a side
Oh
point
yeah,
cap.
no, I 100%
Yeah.
agree that, like I said, I
So
don't want to see them on anything other than
yeah.
payload.
So even if they're sitting on a side point, you can just line of sight them on Poseidon Armory and cap that point for free and not even have to fight the Tricera.
Hmm.
Like they might stop you once or maybe twice, but they just don't have the EN to do it. They don't have the movement speed to cycle around it. Um, you can get free caps off of Triceras that are guarding side points. So
If
that really
if
brings
it
the
was
salary
not
down.
for payload, Tricera would be in D tier with
Yeah,
Hurricane.
That's
I would
super
agree.
interesting. Okay. I honestly was not expecting that, considering where Tricera was in the last discussion. But once again, we're seeing, buffs and nerfs across the whole cast completely changing where placements are. This is, if anything, this is a good sign that devs are at least listening to complaints, and even though they may be overcorrecting a little in some places, it's good that they're actually making corrections. Right.
I will
Oh,
actually add on to this as well, just to say that it is not that I enjoy having a Tricera on payload. Payload maps require a Tricera. It's you have to have a Tricera on payload. On payload, Tricera is S tier. If you don't have one, you're throwing.
fair. I agree, to be
Yeah.
honest. And Thelian, what are your thoughts on Trek?
Yeah, just B tier, S tier payload, B tier, anything else.
That
Not
cool.
too much to really say. I think everything's kind of been spoken about with Tricera that I don't have to say too much on the whole topic. It has a lot more team utility, I think, than I mean, yeah, you know what? That's debatable. We'll leave it there.
I mean, to be honest, when Tricera gets the much needed ultra buff patch, I'll come straight to you the first time we do this, or rather the next time we do this, just so you can
We're
get
deleting
get
Tricera, I
all
hope,
of the
at that
things in.
point. I hated Tricera in OBT.
I don't think anybody really liked Tricera apart from those that played them, but happens all the time. Right. So we're going to move on to the final striker, Serenith, one of the new ones alongside Stellaris. Charlotte, how are we feeling about the new support?
Straight to D tier.
Oh no.
I will say this. This one hurts me because I legitimately do not think we have any really good Serenith players. And that's no offense to the players that are out there playing Serenith. I think Serenith requires a lot to play well. I think you have to play around your team has to play around it. Um It has some really good tools that maybe are a little bit gimmicky, but it has some good tools of point denial with its orbitals, right? You throw a charge orbital down on a point, it does solid damage, keeps anyone from standing there. interrupts any caps. Its main gun does pretty okay damage. Its radar serves a purpose similar to Falcon. It's pretty good, and you're able to see through walls and shoot through walls as Serno, so that's good. It's able to go untargetable for what is it, 5-6 seconds, which isn't like on paper not bad. That's pretty good for survivability. It has its tether, and that tether does a couple things, right? It can cause an enemy to be friend foed, which can confuse people for a second, but also keep them from killing you. And then two, it can be used to capture a point from a distance, right? And that capture from a distance is probably its best tool right now. If you use it on something like Eye of Misra or Poseidon Armory, or you use it on the observatory maps, you can fly over points, and if they're not paying attention above them and they have other stuff going on, they're just standing on the point, spinning and fighting in there, you can just fly above them and cap that point nice and easily. If you have a stego near you, if you stego smoke and you cap that side point, that smoke will keep you invisible, right? So there are tools that like on paper feel like it should be good. Problem is it's actually so insanely easy to kill that it just does not become worth it to ever have. It's untargetable for 6 seconds is not good enough. It just gets picked off. The friend foe doesn't really help you that much either when you have 4 people diving onto you. The damage isn't high enough that it's better than anything else really in its category. When you're talking radar, you already have Falcon bringing that to the table now on these comps. So there's some things there, like it just has everything it does, someone else does better, except for the range capture. And that range capture isn't good enough, is kind of gimmicky, and if a really good competitive team knows there's a Serenith on the enemy team, they're going to keep an eye out for it. In a competitive setting, there's never going to be a stealth cap from a Serenith for the most part. It's going to be, all right, enemy team has a Serenith, everyone go focus them, free kill, and then we snowball.
Yeah.
And there's not much they can do about it. So, D tier. It really needs buffs kind of across the board if it's going to climb this tier list.
And that is our first D tier list striker of the day. And wow, I honestly wasn't expecting that either. I thought Serenith at least had some usage in, like you were saying, Charlotte, the ability to tether to things and use from a distance, like pull the payload or get a key or whatever. But not even C tier is very, very rough. And I mean, look, I will take you lot's word for this because I don't know much about Serenith. I played it once, I think. So I am deferring completely to you. So Thelian,
yeah, and I mean, like
no,
to quickly talk over that like we're talking in competitive setting, you play it in ladder, you can probably stealth cap a ton, get some good use, have fun for the most part in ladder. It's not gonna be great, but it's not as bad. Competitive, it will get focused down and killed.
yeah, that makes complete sense to me, honestly. Thelian, what are we thinking about Serenith?
D tier. I've already thrown it in there. It's just terrible. Aside from its somewhat respectable damage output, it's just, again, like Charlotte said, far too easy to kill. Okay, 5-6 seconds of no lock on, guys. Oh, it's over. Okay, now you die. Oh, hey, I'm gonna tether you now, so you can't kill me, and everyone else sees you as an enemy. Okay. Well, here, let me just fast fall real quick. Oh, wait, the lock broke. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, now you die. Just everything that like a Serenith can do to survive is just too easily outed by like any kind of movement, janky movement, whatever. 5-6 seconds of lock on, disabling is just god awful for how squishy Serenith is. Like you look at the other kind of lights and you realize, oh my god, at least Lumine has some really good EN economy with the wings, some really crazy fast movement with that. Falcon, lock break, Stellaris cloak, constantly can just cloak on and off, lock break. Like it doesn't have this, oh, okay, I hit an ability and now I'm, 5-6 seconds immune for, a lock on. It's just can constantly break a lock when it wants to, when it chooses to.
Mm.
It's just I hate Serenith. Like I never ever want to see Serenith right now in a team comp. I will say at least I think there might be a spot in a very, very hyper specific comp on a very specific map in particular where it's good, but I think like it's going to have to involve like striker bans in some degree. Otherwise, like Serenith is just it's I don't know where to put it right now. Like other than D tier, like I haven't seen a good Serenith. I haven't seen Serenith generate a lot of value ever. And again, its tether is way too gimmicky. Sometimes I've been hearing it doesn't even work properly. Oh, I can tether the payload and pull it. Okay, well, why aren't we just running Tricera to sit on the payload, guys? It's one of those things that just I don't know. Serenith infuriates me.
Yeah. I mean, tell us how you really feel. I will
I
say
love killing Serenith, I'll tell you that. I love killing them. They're very again, if you ever pick this on TDM, you're just getting blocked. Like I will hate you forever. Never ever pick
Blocked.
Serenith on TDM. We had a match where the enemy Serenith went 0-7-0 on TDM.
That's rough.
I just do not ever pick Serenith. Please, you will be doing yourself a favor, you will be doing your team a favor.
So the thing that I was going to mention is I do hope we get these striker bans coming into ranked, because I think it does wonders, not only for forcing players who are in ranked at a specific level to multi-role, but it also gives you a taste of what a true competitive, like officially run tournament environment is. So if you get target banned because somebody knows, like for example with Marvel Rivals, that guy who picked who was like rank 1 with Wolverine, he was getting target banned every single fucking time he got into a game. And that's good, because it shows that there's a level of competitiveness to the game and to the community that's acceptable, and that we want to get better at the game and we want to engage in these much more official rule sets so everybody can get better and understand the game on a competitive level. But yeah, Renegade, what are your thoughts on Serenith?
So I am actually going to rate him higher than D tier, mostly because Thelian and Charlotte have stated that they don't know any good Serenith players, or they haven't seen any good Serenith players. And I actually have. And the way he plays Serenith is he is playing a single player game. and I will preface this by saying that Serenith is only good on 2 maps, Sinkhole and Poseidon Armory. There are arguments that could be made that he could do well on Eye of Mizra and the Moon map, but other than those 2, potentially 4 maps, Serenith is just not good on any of the other maps. He's bad on payload, he's bad on TDM, he's bad on observatory maps. And the reason why I would rate him higher than D tier is that I have been watching him play Serenith in between my queue times, and he is finding the most janky, hilarious spots known to man, to where he can just basically sit there and hide in a tiny little cubby hole with a very, very, very narrow window of direct line of sight to a point where he is surrounded by walls on all sides except for that tiny little slit that he can see through, and he can tether it and then just cap the point, and there's nothing that the enemy team can do about it. And on maps like Sinkhole and Poseidon Armory, just capping the point is 75% of the battle. You can hold on to that point for 30 seconds to a minute long with 1 person versus like 5 people on the enemy team, and that gains your team like 45 points in it by itself.
So where's Serenith go?
Yeah, I'm not going to mention the spots that he uses, because if it ever happens to me in a ranked game, I'm going to lose my mind. And I don't want to see that ever happen, but I would probably put Serenith as the best support in the game currently right now, just because of that.
So what's
I
the
thought
ranking?
Skyraider.
Oh no,
the best
Skyraider
support.
is a support, but it's labeled as I'm talking officially labeled
I see.
support striker.
Okay.
It's better than Lumi. It's better than Panaka.
But it's still going in C tier.
Correct.
Okay.
He's insane.
That's the
D
state
tier
of
all the way.
support right now.
That's
If
great.
you
It's
see,
about
if you
playing
saw the
support
spots that
right
I
now.
saw, you would agree with me.
Yes, argue.
I
But-
think I know the Serenith player you're talking about. Is it Domo?
So
Yes, it's Domino.
Yeah.
Renegade, to that point though, right? You're going into like a competitive match. Like we have a league match. You're going Orca versus SOS or whatever it is. Like neither team is gonna let that Serenith play the game. You know, at the end of the day, even if they get into these diabolical spots, um, they're just not gonna be able to play the game. The teams are gonna hard focus them. You know,
And
so
I would
that's
agree.
why I really throw it down into D tier.
Yeah, no, and I would 100% agree if it was any other map besides Poseidon Armory and Sinkhole, because the spawns on Poseidon Armory and Sinkhole are not directly visible to the enemy team, which means that when Serenith is spawning back up, he can literally go any direction he wants and probably get to that point and into position, getting ready to range cap it without the enemy team knowing. Now, once he does cap it, he will be visible and found, and he will more than likely be deleted. But all he has to do is create the opportunity where he caps that point, and anybody on my team, anybody that's playing Cancer Comp will be able to basically defend that point and stop it from being capped back for at least a minute and 30 seconds by themselves.
Damn, was that it? I wanted more drama. No, I'm joking. So we have come to the end. There are currently no more strikers to talk about, right, Thelian? There's none, like zero.
Oh no, we haven't addressed the elephant in the room just yet.
Go on, Thelian. You start us off.
Okay. So right now, Welkin is so broken that we do not need a patch for him. We need a hot fix. That is how like crazy in a state he is right now with that Ox 3. It is just completely absurd. Who in their right mind said, yeah, we're gonna give this Ox 3 melee block, and on top of that, when his shield gets meleeed, it is not gonna stop him from capping. It's complete and utter insanity that I have seen. Like he's just like to me, like he's a 100%. You must pick this guy always, forever, on any team composition you run. I think even actually Cancer Comp might not even have to run Welkin, I'm hearing. But in any other scenario, you are running Welkin whether you like it or not. And you are playing Welkin whether you like it or not. I am at a point right now where I just want to get out of Welkin jail. Even though, Welkin is in the strongest state that he has ever been in my honest opinion. And like, oh my god, I'm just gonna keep going on and on about this all day long. Like it's just he's too broken. Like, okay, so Box kind of got nerfed, whatever, Box still good. You can't lock on to Welkin outside of that box, which makes it very, very frustrating for something like a Stellaris who, could go haha sword drone, stop the cap. Can't do that when the box is up. Very difficult for a Stellaris to break the box. I think they have to go into the rapid / combo to actually pop it. So you're kind of really reliant on the team to pop it for you, to deny it. So really, it's like at the end of the day, the only person who can truly contest a Welkin at the moment is another Welkin.
True.
Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know what I've done to say buff Welkin, but I have made a grave error in my buff Welkin agenda. That now that now that it's happened, we must nerf Welkin, 100%.
Never thought I'd see the day where it wasn't a thing in Thelian's mouth. That's crazy. So, this again is a thing that I encountered in the Mecha BREAK General channel. Nerf Welkin, Buff Welkin was supposed to just be a meme. It wasn't supposed to be a suggestion. But for some reason, ASG thought, oh, that's a great idea. So let's just do it. And now, like you say, it's miserable. Renegade, what are your thoughts on Welkin?
Welkin is the most broken piece of shit in the game. 100%. To put it in perspective, I have never touched Welkin a day in my life before launch. On my ult, I decided to use my ult to learn new strikers, because all I did was play Aquila. I started picking Welkin. I'm not even good at Welkin. I just go to objectives, I press my 3, I press my box, I've capped the objective, and then I move on. I don't even team fight. I just win the objectives. And then a team member of mine who has also never touched Welkin before a day in his life is queuing into the top 5 positions on ladder right now and playing Welkin. And all he's doing is either holding down left click and screaming into the mics that I am spinning, look at me, I am spinning. And then he'll occasionally say, oops, I am out of energy. And then he goes back to screaming, I am spinning, I am spinning. And then he just does 700,000 damage at the end of the match.
Charlotte,
So yeah, Welkin is
how
top
do
of the
you
tier.
feel about Welkin?
Yeah, again, Welkin gets a tier of his own above S tier. Welkin is stupidly broken, absolutely absurd. Don't know how much more there is to say about it. It's like I already had problems with Welkin last beta, and again when we did the tier list, then Welkin had
Yeah.
a tier of its own then, and it somehow got better. I don't know how they looked at it and said this needs to get better. It's so hard to stop it from capping points these days, right? Of like Lumi's one of its counters, but Lumi's getting blown up all the time these days, right? It's really
Yeah.
dangerous to play Lumi. So to play Lumi in that closer range to a Welkin to stop that cap, super dangerous, crazy dangerous. Like, and then outside of that, there's other things that could break that box, but not as much. Aquila can break it with good focus, and if it has the ammo, Skyrider doesn't really break it. Panther doesn't break it. Stellaris doesn't break it. Falcon, if it has its heavy missiles up, does break it. But you have to be in the right position. You have to make sure that those heavy missiles land, which isn't going to be all the time. Narukami doesn't break it. Inferno also gets blocked by its new shield, so it can just cap while an Inferno is shooting at it, and there's nothing Inferno can do.
Very
You know,
fair.
Tricera doesn't really stop it well. Panaka can put down walls, but again, healers are just getting blown up. Stego can break box, which is one of the good things about Stego. Hurricane, I believe, can also break box, but no one wants to play a Hurricane because it dies. It's just there's not many tools for it to deal with it, especially on the high end, right? One of the only consistent tools to deal with Welkin is another Welkin, which is just not fun. When you say like, all right, there's a Welkin in the game, no one can do anything about it except for our Welkin. Our Welkin has to play better than their Welkin, and nothing else really
Oh, we're
matters
running a
for the most
Panther.
part. Yeah, or a Panther. Right? Panther is technically a counter for Welkin, but there's plenty of ways for a Welkin to open up avenues to play around that Panther, through the support of your team. So the one small weakness from Welkin is that Panther kind of counters it, but it's not significant enough. And yeah, it just needs to be nerfed.
One
It needs to
small
be hit.
segue.
Yeah.
One small segue into the Panther versus Welkin argument. Fun fact: if you time your cooldown reset for Welkin's Ox 3 shield, you can actually never be lanced by Panther.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
have a
great.
direct counter play to your counter as Welkin. It is the
Yeah.
only striker that has that.
Yeah, as long as you're facing the Panther, when he plunges and tries to lance, you can just Ox 3, and it's
Yep.
just still no lance damage for you, loser.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's insanity how it is right now. Like I would say it needs to be hit with a bat, but no, it needs to actually be like lobotomized. This thing needs to go to some 1950s hospital and just get taken out back. Um,
Oh my
I
god.
I don't know how else to put it. Like this thing, I just don't want to see it in the next meta at all whatsoever. I think it just needs to be hit so hard that it goes down to like B or C tier, just so it's not being
Mhm.
in these competitive teams, because we've just been seeing it so much, and every time it's been overpowered lately. So yeah, I'm sorry. Take it out back. Put it
Get
down.
up back and shoot it with a shotgun in the face. Right.
It needs it.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been another incredible tier list discussion from week 2 of Mecha Break. I will start with Thelian to Renegade to Charlotte if there's anything you want to plug, and then I'll do my closing stuff, and then I'll let you all go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I'll quickly plug in actually just the again the Mecha Broken EU server, just because again I think they're hurting for players. People are looking for teams over there trying to form up for a possible EU community tournament.
Mhm.
And I think we need a little more teams to really get that kind of going. But yeah, no, I right now I wholeheartedly just I want to see EU be a little more prominent in the overall community of Mecha Break, because right now there's very little attention on EU, and I'm hoping that with more events happening and stuff, CSUN goes, oh hey, maybe we should give EU a little more focus.
Hey, I'm trying, man. I'm trying in my own small way. Anything else, though?
No, that's it. That's all I've got.
Hell yeah, Renegade.
The only shout out I really have is people for calling for nerfs for Aquila. Please stop suggesting to nerf my mobility kit. It is literally the only thing that keeps me alive. If you take that away from me, I will die on repeat.
So what we need to put in all of our stream titles from now on is hashtag gutwelkin and hashtag nerf mobility kit. Cool.
Please
Thank you
no.
for that, Renegade.
And hashtag buff Stellaris, by the way, guys.
Yes, hashtag buff Stellaris. And finally, Charlotte.
Yeah, I got a couple things to shout out really quickly. Of course, come and join the Mecha Scrim community here. We have in 10 minutes a Mecha University class on Narukami, but also in the relevance to competitive, this coming Sunday we have the start of the Summer League, which is going to be every Sunday from roughly 1 to 5 in the afternoon, playing 2 matches every hour between the teams, and then that'll culminate in a tournament on August 23rd, which currently has a $2,000 prize pool. We're looking to grow that as well. But yeah, that'll be really, I think, the start of the competitive scene here. That's going to be where we're going to see how these tier lists actually hold up and if any comps get really moved around. So yeah,
Hell
that'll be good.
yeah. Please go over to NA and support for sure. Right. Time to do all of my housekeeping. So, my name is Danarai. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is one of 2 podcasts that I do that I upload to YouTube. The other one is a lore podcast that I do with Az, who's also a mod in the Mecha Break main Discord. Yeah, if you want to head over to my YouTube channel, it's just youtube.com/@Danarai. We upload basically all of the stuff we do on stream over to there, especially stuff like the podcasts. I've got the Stellaris challenges on there, so if you want to see me fail those, go over and check it out and laugh, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I'll put my links up as well. There's all of them in my chat if you want to go over and have a look at them. There's a fuck ton of them. But finally, I just want to say thank you. Oh, no, actually, before I do that, the last thing is, yes, the EU does have a tournament going on. Over in my chat, I've got the link. If you want to just click on those, if you're part of EU and you're not aware of it, then please go and do so. But finally, once again, I want to say thank you very much to all 3 of you for joining me. It's been a wonderful discussion. I hope everybody over on Charlotte's channel has been enjoying this too. I've been reading some of the comments, and you're very welcome for us keeping you up until 3 a.m. Believe me, I'm knackered too. It's 20 past 1 in the morning, but nothing gets me going and keeps me up than really good people talking about really good stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye-bye.